Good day to all of you students. Today we are starting a very important chapter, chapter 3 of 11th physics. That is about motion. Now we are actually starting your study of physics. Chapter 2 gave you elementary information about the units and dimensions that we use. But now we are actually starting the study of mechanics, a very important branch of physics. Children, as we use the word motion, in this chapter we will study about motion in one dimension, and in the next chapter we will study about motion in two dimensions. So first of all, let us concentrate on the word motion. When do we say that an object or a body is in motion? You may think that if a body changes its position with respect to time, then it is said to be in motion. So whenever an object will change its position with respect to time, means as time passes and you find that the body is changing its position, then we say it is in motion. Now, it should change its position means what? First of all, you should know how to decide position of a body. So how do we decide position of a body, children? In physics, position of a body can be identified in three ways. And what are those three ways? Either you first select an XY coordinate system, or preferably XYZ in three dimensions. Say this is the Z axis, and you mark its coordinates at any point of time, wherever it was located. So the coordinates of the body at a point of time will indicate its position. So that is one of the methods to decide position of a body. Or when you learn vectors in the next chapter, you will realize that once the system of axis has been fixed by us and the reference point has been fixed, what is reference point we will discuss just now, then if a body is located over here at a point P at a given time, then we draw the vector joining P with the reference point. This vector R is called its position vector, and position vector also decides position of a body. So position vector helps us to identify the position of a body. We will talk about this more in chapter number 4 when we introduce you to vectors. So one is Cartesian coordinate system that we will introduce just now to you, how it is done. You already know about it from your class 9 and 10, but still we will talk more about it. Then position vector I told you, and sometimes a body's position is also given by polar coordinates. Now what are polar coordinates? What we will do is, again we will fix up a system, XYZ system. This is the origin, and supposing my body is located over here. So I will not give you its position vector, but I will just tell you what is this distance. What is the distance of body from the origin? Now if I only give you distance of the body from the origin, then there can be so many points located at same distance. All the points on this circle are at same distance R. So merely by giving you position of body from origin, distance of the body from origin, you won't come to a unique position. So apart from R, apart from the distance of the body from the origin, or of the particle, or of the point from the origin, we will also tell you this ray OP, how much angle it is making with positive direction of x-axis. How much angle it is making with positive direction of x-axis. This R and theta both will be given to you. So now you can ascertain unique position of a body. Only if I give you R, then you don't get a unique point because all these points are at distance R. Only if I give you theta, then also you don't get a unique point because all these points are making angle theta with axis. This point, this point, this point, all are making angle theta. Alone R will not give you a unique position. Alone theta will not give you a unique position. But combination of R and theta will give you a unique position of a point. So when I give you R and theta like this, R means distance of the point from origin, and theta means what ray OP, what angle ray OP is making with positive direction of x-axis. If I give you that angle, then the combination of r and theta is called polar coordinates of the point. So we learn three methods to get position of a body: by Cartesian coordinates, that is first way to decide position of a body, or we can know its position vector, or we can know its polar coordinates. If we know any one of the things, then we reach to a unique point and the position of a body is identified. A body or a point is located at this point of time. So this way we talk of position of a point, and before that you have to understand, children, that as I told you, if I want to draw a position vector, I have to start from O. What is O? I should know which is this point. Here also I have to fix up x-axis and y-axis first. So why do we need to fix x-axis and y-axis always? To decide position of a body. So please understand, children, that supposing this is the road and here is my house, okay, and there is a post office over here, and this is eastern direction and this is western direction. Supposing distance between my house and post office is supposing 50 meter. Now if I want to describe the position of post office to anybody from my house, so I will say the post office is at 50 meter distance towards east with respect to my house. With respect to my house, because my house is here and post office is on this side, it is on eastern side. So I have to say post office at distance of 50 meter. If I only say post office is at distance of 50 meter east, only I say this much. So post office appears to be a distance of 50 meters towards east from this point. But supposedly if I stand over here at distance of 50 meter, and now I want to say what is the position of post office. Again I will say 50 meter only. But now I will say towards west. Now post office with respect to this point is towards west. From this point it was 50 meter towards eastern direction. So you understand that as soon as the observation point changes, first I was describing position of post office from this point, from my house. So I said the post office is at 50 meter towards eastern direction, because I was observing from here with respect to my house. Now I change my position, I come here and decide or describe the position of post office. So again it is 50 meter only, but now it is towards west. So as soon as the observation point changes, the position of point, the description of the position of point changes. Of course it is 50 meter only in both the cases, but from here it is in eastern direction and from here it is in western direction. So please understand, observation point from where you are observing is very important. So you need to understand, if you want to describe position of any object or any point, you have to first describe from where you are observing. That point is the observation point. And in physics, children, we don't describe locations like north, east, west, south, so much latitude, so much longitude. In geography, we are using latitudes and longitudes to describe location of any body. Where is Delhi located? Where is Ahmedabad located? Where is Gandhinagar located? Where is Karachi situated? So you are given latitudes and longitudes to decide position of a place. But in physics, you will not use any of these approaches. We will not use directions north, south, east, west, or latitude or longitude, or towards right, towards left, nothing of that sort. We will use Cartesian coordinate system, x, y, z axis system. So wherever, from whichever point you are observing, you will think that there is one line going like this, another perpendicular line like this, and another perpendicular like this. Three mutually perpendicular lines you will assume, which are passing from this point of observation. And these three perpendicular lines will be called x, y, and z. Any one can be called x, any one can be called y, any one can be called z. That depends upon you. So origin of the Cartesian coordinate system will be generally the preferred point of observation. Again, let me tell you, it is not compulsory. Okay, this point only should be the reference point. Observer can be anywhere. But first you have to decide x, y, z Cartesian coordinate system, where is the origin, and then mark the points of other bodies, whether it is observer or any other body which needs to be described. Preferably observer is always located at origin, but again not compulsory. So if you want to describe the position of any point, first fix up a reference frame. This x, y, z axis system is called a reference frame. First fix up a reference frame, then locate the position of the observer, locate the position means mark the coordinates of the observer, where is the observer situated, mark the coordinates of the body about which you want to describe the position, and then say a body is located at so and so point. So if I take my example like this, I fix up a Cartesian coordinate system like this, supposing only two dimension. This is 10, this is 20, this is 30. Supposing this is east direction, this is north direction, this is west and this is south, supposing. So this is 40. There is an observer over here at 10, 0. He is not at 0, 0. I told you the observer need not be at 0, 0 point. If a point P is located over here, the observer will say the point P is at 20 units distance in eastern direction, because now you know where you are situated. You will say observer is at 10, 0 and the point is at 30, 0. When you write like this, I immediately come to know that point P is at 20 units on x-axis with respect to O. So I know if I want to reach P, where I have to reach, I have to move 20 units from observer. That is the point. If this is 50 and this is 60 and this is 70, supposing your friend is standing over here, he says I have to reach point P and he is asking you, okay, I am standing at point 70, 0, I want to reach point P, what I should do? So you will tell him, you will think in your mind, you are at 10, 0, point P is at 30, 0 and your friend is at 70, 0. So first of all, what have you done? You have marked the positions of all the points. The place about which he is inquiring, your own position, you have marked the coordinates, and your friend's coordinates also you have marked. You will ask your friend, where are you situated? They will tell you, I am at so and so distance. So by thinking what information is giving you, you will plan in your mind and you will mark his coordinates. Then you will think in your mind, okay, your friend is at 70, 0, he wants to reach at 30, 0, he should move left 40 units, and you will immediately give him directions, what he should do. You will be able to tell him, you move 40 units to the left or towards western direction, and your friend will reach the right spot. So you now realize how important this reference system becomes. Once you decide the position of observer, the point, then only you are able to describe correctly the position of the point. So once you are clear about what is the importance of position, now you have to understand, if an object will change its position with respect to time, then only it will be said to be in motion, otherwise no. Now supposedly if I take up this thing, again let us see, this is the x-axis, this is origin, this is a point 10, 0 and you are located here, and this is 20 point, this is 30 point, alright, like this is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, like this. Now children, there is one point P over here at point 30, 0 and it is moving with a uniform speed, and you are also moving with the same speed, both are having same speed. So after a certain time he will reach the point 40 and you will reach the point 20. Earlier distance between both of you was 20 units, because both of you are traveling with the same speed. When P reaches over here, you will reach over here. Again distance is 20 between you. After a certain time, this point P may reach over here. This was P1 position, P2 position. After a certain time, P will reach to P2. You were here at the time when P1 reached over here. A became A1. When P became P2, A will become A2. Again distance between you will be 20 units. So always distance between you and that body will remain 20 units. So that body is not changing position with respect to you. With respect to you, because whenever you look at the point, you will say it is 20 units to my right. Always the body will remain 20 units with respect to you. So the body is not changing position with respect to you, please understand. Because you are also moving, distance between both the points remains 20 units. So the body is not in motion with respect to you, please understand. When you as an outsider are looking at this figure, you are understanding that P changes from P1 to P2. So for you as an observer outside this frame, if you are not this person, if you are some other person who is looking at this diagram, you may feel that P goes to P1 and goes to P2, so coordinates of P1 and P2 are changing. So coordinates of P are 30, 0, 40, 0, 50, 0 for you as an outsider. But for A, because he thinks, observer always thinks I am at the origin, please remember. Observer thinks that I am at the origin always. When A was at 10, 0, he will not think that I am at 10, 0. He will think that I am at 0, 0. We as outsiders may think A is at 10, 0, but observer always thinks that I am stationary and I am at origin. So when observer goes from here to here, again his coordinates become 0, 0 instead of 20, 0. When he is here, his coordinates are not 10, 0. For us they are 10, 0. For him they are 0, 0. When he reaches over here, the coordinates become 30, 0 for us, for outsiders, not for this person A. When he reaches over here, he thinks that the coordinates are 0, 0, where he is standing. So his coordinates are always 0, 0. Therefore, when he is standing over here and P is over here, because he considers that this is 0, 0, this distance 20, so he will feel this is 20, 0. When A reaches A1 point, again he thinks I am at 0, 0. P1 is here, so again this is 20, 0 for him, because this is 0, 0 for this A who was reached over here. And when A comes to this point, again his coordinates are 0, 0 instead of 30, 0. He thinks I am at origin always. And therefore coordinates of P2, 20, they again become 20, 0. So for A, coordinates of P are always 20, 0. So P is not in motion for A, because A does not feel any change of the coordinates. So when coordinates of a body will change with respect to observer, we will say position of body has changed with respect to observer, and then P will be appearing to be in motion to that observer. So you can understand, children, motion is relative. For A, P was not in motion, but for me as a teacher, I could make out the coordinates of P, P1, P2 are different, because for me this is the origin. So the coordinates were 30, 0, 40, 0 and 50, 0. So for me, P was in motion, but for A, it was not in motion. Because A felt the coordinates of P are always 20, 0. So please understand, motion is relative. Now please understand this word very easily, clearly. You will be using this word again and again. One thing is relative and one thing is absolute. What is relative? See, if the answer of a question varies from person to person, then it is relative description. And if the answer of the question does not change from person to person, it remains same for all, it is absolute description. Now there may be a student in your class who is very good at maths but not doing very good in English. So if a maths teacher is asked to comment upon that boy, that student, the teacher will say he is an excellent child, he is doing very good in my subject maths. But when the principal asks the English teacher to comment upon that student, English teacher will say he is an average, he does not do so good in my subjects, so he is an average child. The description of the same child varies from teacher to teacher. So that is relative description, because two people are not giving same explanation about a student. They are having different views. So if there are different answers for a question, they vary from person to person, then it becomes a relative description. I may be liking blue color very much, but somebody may not like. So I may like a blue color shirt very much, somebody may not like. So that likingness toward that shirt varies from person to person. I may like its color, so I may say it's a very attractive one. Other person may not be finding it so attractive. So whether the shirt is good or not, that is again relative description. So whenever the answer of a question varies from person to person, it becomes a relative description. But if we ask marks of the student in board exam, supposing that student had scored 96 marks out of 100 in maths exam of class 10. He has scored 96 marks in maths in class 10 board exam. Now if all the teachers are asked of the school what are his marks of maths in board exam, they all will say 96, they cannot say 97 or 95. So now the answer to this question does not vary from person to person. Everybody has to give the same answer. The chap has scored 96 marks in class 10 maths board exam. So that is an absolute description. So when we know that the answer of the question will not change from person to person, it becomes absolute description. So motion is relative because different people can give different views. I am saying P is moving, but A is saying P is not moving. So therefore motion is relative. What may be appearing in motion to me may not be appearing in motion to you. We feel that moon is revolving around us, or we feel that sun goes from east to west. So we feel that sun is moving around us. But if we observe from moon, what we will observe? That earth is going around the sun. So who is going around whom? That depends upon the observation point. If we look at sun from the earth, we feel that sun is moving, going around the earth. But if we observe from moon, we can make out that earth is moving around the sun. So who is moving and who is not moving? That depends upon the reference point, from where you are observing the things. If there are two people sitting in a bus on the same seat, and if the bus is moving, then if there are two persons A and B sitting on the same seat like this is seat A and this is seat B, and the bus is moving like this. So when A looks at the outside trees, he may find the trees going back with a great speed. So A, when he looks out of the window and he finds that trees moving backwards, he will feel that trees are moving backwards. But actually there is a person standing over here, then he will say that actually bus is moving, trees are there only where they are. Trees are not moving actually. So as soon as the observation point changes from this person to this person, the description of motion of trees changes. He may feel that trees are moving backwards, but he will feel no, the trees are stationary, actually the bus is going like this. So description of the trees changes from person to person. And what about B? When A looks at B, the position of B does not change because A feels that he is always with me. The distance between me and B is not changing. So what will A think about B? Is the position of B changing with respect to A? No. They are at same distance always. Distance between them remains same, just like case over here. So what will A speak about B? He will say B is stationary, B is not moving. For A, B is not moving. But for the person, he will think that as bus is going forward, B is also going forward. So for this person, B is moving, but for this person, B is not moving. So motion is relative. As soon as the reference point, as soon as the observation point changes, immediately the description changes. Whether a body is in motion or not, that description changes. A very good example is, this is 9 written over here. If I see from here it is 9, but if I see from here it will appear to be 6. The same thing can appear to be 6 from this side and may appear to be 9 from this side. As soon as the observation point changes, from here to here observation point changes, the figure changes, it becomes 6 from 9 if I go from this side to this side. So you have to understand, same thing may appear to be two different ways as soon as the observation point changes. So therefore motion is relative and you need to specify what was the observation point. Then only we can decide whether body is in motion or not. And what is the cause of motion, children? As soon as we ask this question, what is the cause of motion? So you may say force, but you are greatly mistaken. Force is not the cause of motion. Now you have to be very, very careful in choosing the words. Force is not the cause of motion, children. Now you may think, if force is not applied, then how can body start moving? If I have to move something, then I have to apply force to it. Then only it will start moving. Then it will come in motion. But that is a wrong concept. Please understand, you have heard about F equal to ma. So whenever there will be force, there will be acceleration, and acceleration means change of velocity. Delta V, delta means change in velocity in a given time interval. Force causes acceleration. Acceleration causes change of velocity, not the velocity. There is a difference between velocity and change of velocity. What is Newton's first law of motion? See, if you say force is the cause of motion, that means if there is no force, there will be no motion, because you are saying force is the cause of motion. So you want to say force is the cause and motion is the effect. Okay? So till the time cause is not there, effect cannot be produced, because force is the cause of motion. So as far as there is no cause, effect will not be there. So cause has to occur, then only effect will come. That is very true. Now what is Newton's first law of motion? A body at rest will remain at rest, and a body in motion will continue to be in motion until an external agency acts upon it. That external agency is called force. So a body at rest will remain at rest, and a body in motion will continue to be in motion till the time force acts on it. That means even if there is no force, a body in motion can continue to be in motion. If there is no force, how is motion taking place? If there is no force, then how come motion is taking place? So in the first law itself, this argument gets defeated that force is the cause of motion. So please realize, force is not the cause of motion. Force is the cause of acceleration. Acceleration means change of velocity. Force causes change of velocity. So now, what is the cause of motion if force is not the cause of motion? See children, supposing an object is over here, right? Now, supposing this pen is lying over here, you think like this. Now I am standing over here. As I move towards the pen, distance between myself and pen is decreasing. So is the pen in motion with respect to me? We said a body will be in motion with respect to observer if the observer finds its position is changing. So I am finding that the position of pen is changing with respect to me. I will consider myself always as stationary, always at origin, please remember. The observer can never see his motion. Observer always feels he is stationary and is always at origin, please remember. So when I am looking at this pen, the pen is coming closer to me. Not that I am going close to the pen. No. I will never be able to see my own motion as an observer. So I will not think that pen is coming toward, I will not think that I am going towards the pen. I will think that pen is coming close to me. So for me, pen is moving. And now if I become stationary, then position of pen with respect to me does not change. Distance between pen and myself does not change. So now the pen becomes stationary for me. But as soon as I move, the position of pen changes for me and therefore pen comes into motion. So what is the cause of motion? Choice of observer. From which point are you looking? If you are looking from your point of view, you as an observer, then you feel that this pen is stationary, but for me, as I move towards this pen, the pen is coming closer to me and therefore pen is in motion. So whether this is the observer or you are the observer, the point of observation, the observer is the cause of motion. What is the choice of reference frame? This is the reference frame or you yourself are the reference frame? The choice of reference frame decides whether body is in motion or not. Please remember children. Force is not the cause of motion, force is the cause of acceleration and the change of velocity. Force produces change of velocity, not the velocity itself. There is a great difference between velocity and change of velocity. So whether this pen has got velocity or not will depend upon the choice of observer. If I move, then this pen also moves. Therefore, it has got velocity. But there is no change of velocity because there is no force acting on it. Okay, so even if there is no force acting on this pen, but if I move, I find that this pen is moving. Therefore, force is not the cause of motion. So, please realize what is the cause of motion? Not the force, but the choice of reference frame. From which point did you decide to observe the point or the particle? That will decide whether body is in motion or not, that particle is in motion or not. Please remember these important points which I am telling you. Now, once we know, we have talked about position, we need one more thing, that is displacement and distance. Children, when I want to say I am learning to describe motion of the body in this chapter, when I say I want to describe motion of a body, so I want to write an essay on it, whether the body's motion is very good, it is rotational motion, it is performing very good motion, its motion is very fast. I am not supposed to write essay on the motion of the body. When I say I want to describe motion of a body, I should have information about so many things. Its position, its displacement, its velocity, and its acceleration. So, if I have an idea of these four things about a body, if I have an idea of these four things about the body, then I can tell you what will be the velocity or acceleration or displacement or position of the body at any point in the past or at any point in the future or presently. So when you want to describe motion of a body, means you want to have information about these four things. What was the position at any point in the past or at any point in the future or currently? What was the displacement in a given time interval? For any time interval in the past or in future, what will be displacement in a given time interval? What was its velocity at any point of time in past or in future or right now? What is the acceleration of the body right now, or what was the acceleration at any point in the past or at any point in the future, what it will be? If I can have information of these four things, then we say we have described motion of a body. So we need to have idea about these four things to know motion of a body. We should know what is its position at any point in the past or at any point in the future or right now. We should be in a position to tell the displacement of the body for any time interval in the past or in the future. We should be able to tell what is the velocity of the body right now, or what will be its velocity at any point in the future, or what was its velocity at any point in the past. Same for acceleration. What is the acceleration right now, or what will be the acceleration in future at any point of time, or what was the acceleration of the particle or of the body at any point in the past. If I am able to give you these four informations about the motion of body, then I say I have described motion of a body. So these four things are important to describe motion of a body. We have already discussed about position, how to identify position of a body. There are three methods to identify position of a body: Cartesian coordinates, polar coordinates, or position vector. For Cartesian coordinates, you have to fix up a reference frame, fix up the reference point, the origin, and then mark the coordinates of the point, all those things I told you. Now we come to displacement. Displacement will be the shortest distance between the initial point and the final point. Shortest distance between the initial point and the final point. Supposing body goes from A to B, then what is the shortest distance between A and B? That will be the displacement. So supposing a body goes on a square path, there is a square path like this, A to B. It goes 10 meter like this from here, then 10 meter like this, and then 10 meter like this. So distance covered by the body is 30 meter, but displacement is straight distance between A and B. This will be 10 meter because this is a square park, so all the sides will be equal. So this will be 10 meter. So displacement will be only 10 meter, while distance will be 30 meter. Straight distance between initial point and final point. The body went from here and it stopped over here. This was the starting point, this was the last point. Initial point, final point. So what is the straight distance between initial and final point? That is displacement. Distance is the actual path length. Actual path length, that is distance. You may keep writing. Distance is the actual path length and displacement is the shortest distance between the initial point and final point. Though the definition of displacement that I am giving you right now is not correct, but it's okay to understand. We will come to a rigid definition at some point later. Supposing a body goes on this semicircular park, this radius is supposing 10 meter, body starts from here, goes on this track and reaches over here. So this is the initial point, this is the final point, this is the straight distance between A and B. Radius is 10, so this will be how much? 20 meter. So displacement is 20 meter. But the path length will be half of semicircle. Half length of semicircle is pi r and that will be 10 pi. So distance will be 10 pi meter, but displacement will be 20 meter. Pi means 3.14. So 3.14 into 10, that will become 31.4 meter. So actual path length is 31.4 meter distance, but displacement is 20 meter. So how to calculate displacement? It is the distance of straight distance between initial point and final point. That is what you have to think. Now, if there is an axis like this, we are talking of one dimension in this chapter. This is positive x-axis, this is negative x-axis. This is O point, this is 0, this is 10, this is 20, 30, 40 and 50 like this. This is minus 10, minus 20 and minus 30. We think like this. Okay, we mark certain points. Supposing at t equal to 0, body is here at point A. Then it goes to point B till 40. Then it comes back to C and then it comes back to D. That goes from A to B, then from D to C and from C to D. So if I talk of AB, if I talk of movement from A to B, what will be distance? 30 meter. And what will be displacement? So I write distance and displacement. Delta x. Delta x means change of x coordinates. These are x coordinates. That will be final x coordinates minus initial x coordinate. So when I talk of A to B, distance is 30 meter. What about delta x? Final position minus initial position. Final is this, initial is this. 40 minus 10. That is 30 meter. When I talk of A to C, if I go from A to C, so how much distance I have traveled? 30, again 30, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. See, I go from A to B, I come back like this and reach C. So here to your 30, again 30, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So from A to C, distance covered is 100 meter. But what is displacement? Final position minus initial position. Final position minus 30 and initial position minus 10. So that is how much? Minus 40 meter. So displacement can be negative also. Displacement can be negative also. If I talk of A to D, I go from here, I come back and then again over here. So what is the distance? I go from here 30 units, 30, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. So distance is 120. See, first I go from A to B, then B to A, then this and again I come back. So what is the total distance from here to your 30, then again 30, 60 हो गया, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. And what is delta x? Final position minus initial position. So minus 10, that is minus 20 meter. And supposing the body finally comes back over here. So if I talk of A to A, so what is the distance? Up to here it was 120 already. So 120 and plus 10, 130, 140. So distance covered is 140. But what is displacement? This was the initial position. This again is the final position. Initial position and final position are same. So that is final position 10 minus initial position 0. So displacement can be 0, negative or positive. But distance always remains positive. So understand this difference between distance and displacement. Displacement will be final position minus initial position. Final x coordinate minus initial x coordinate. Distance will be, we will calculate practically what is it. So now children, you must have heard that distance is a scalar quantity and displacement is a vector quantity. A quantity which needs magnitude and direction both. These are magnitudes. Values, these are magnitudes. A quantity which needs magnitude and direction both is called displacement. It's called a vector. And displacement is a vector you must have studied in class 9. So physical quantity which needs only magnitude is called a scalar quantity. Like if you want to know what is temperature, I will say temperature is 20, 30, 40. What is the mass of this pen? 20 gram, 40 gram, whatever. So mass and temperature, you don't ask me the mass is 20 gram in which direction. You don't say temperature is 30 degrees Celsius in east direction, west direction. You don't say direction. So thing which does not need a direction for its description is called a scalar quantity. And whether direction is required or not, common sense tells us. Okay, temperature does not need direction. People will laugh at us if I say temperature is 40 degrees Celsius in north direction. If I say mass is 50 gram in east direction, people will laugh at me. So whether a physical quantity needs direction or not, that is decided by our common sense. We don't need description for temperature or mass, so they are scalar quantities. Distance also it is not requiring direction because I am not asking to find distance whether body was moving towards right or left. I just see what is the distance traveled and write the value of distance. For displacement I need direction because I will give you a small example. Supposing I say a body has moved from A to B a distance of 3 meter and from B to C a distance of 4 meter. What is distance between A and C? I ask you this question. I tell you a body goes from A to B 3 meters and then from B to C 4 meters. What is the distance between A and C? Smallest straight distance between A and C, what is it? You may immediately say sir 7 meter. Because A to B 3 meter, B to C 4 meter, 3 plus 4 7. Now see, I am asking you straight distance between A and C. The shortest distance between A and C. If A to B goes like this, 3 meter, and then if I go like this, 4 meter, then this is the shortest distance between A and B, which is 5 meter, not 7 meter. And if I go like this from A to B, 3 meter, and I come back like this, B to C 4 meter, then this is the shortest distance between A and C, which is 1 meter. So that means answer is not 7. It is always not 7. It can be 7 only if I go like this from A to B, then from B to C. If I go like this, then yes, this is 3 meter and this is 4 meter, and therefore answer is 7 meter. But always answer is not 7. But for distance, answer will be always 7. Whether like this 3 plus 4 or like this 3 plus 4. Distance is always 7. So to find out distance, you need not ask what was the movement direction from A to B or B to C. Whether it was straight or perpendicular or reverse, you need not ask the direction because answer is always same for distance. It is always 7 meter because actual path length is always 7 meter. Therefore, when I am asking you distance, you are not concerned about the direction because in all the 3 cases, distance is always 7 meter. So direction is not at all important. But for displacement, the shortest distance between A and C, the value changes if I change the direction. If I change the direction perpendicular or reverse, then answer becomes 5 meter or 1 meter. Please understand. Therefore, to find out shortest distance between initial point and final point, you need to tell me what is the direction of A to B and then from B to C. Till I don't mention the direction of movement, you are not able to reach to a conclusive answer. You cannot give me a unique answer. Therefore, now you realize to find out displacement, you need to know what was the movement direction. That means direction is very important for displacement. And because direction is important, it becomes a vector quantity. So why displacement is a vector quantity? You have to understand you cannot come to a conclusive answer till I am not told A to B and B to C are movements in which directions. If directions of movements of A to B and B to C are not mentioned, I cannot come to a conclusive answer regarding displacement from A to C or the shortest distance between A and C. But distance will not matter, it will remain the same. You can make out in whatever direction you move, it will remain the same. So distance does not need direction, displacement needs direction. That is all in this video, children. We'll come up with more detailed topic of displacement in the next video. Thank you and God bless you.